Looking at our primitive diagram of what's been going on, we've established 3 different positions for the Green Sphere project. There is a copy that we made in GitHub, but that's just got 2 files in it. The same 2 files we cloned down to a GitHub position on GitHub desktop, but then I modified one of those files, the git ignore file, so that's now different from the one that's up here in the cloud. Then we also created the Green Sphere Unity project in such a place that GitHub knows about it and recognizes there are changes there, but it hasn't done anything with those changes. So the Unity project is the complete version that we want, but the other 2 places are incomplete. So what we're going to do is move files so that all 3 spots repositories are. So what we're going to do is move the files from the Unity project to the GitHub desktop repository, and then also up to the GitHub cloud, which means we now got a safe copy in the cloud and that all the positions that we know about Green Sphere are consistent. And to do that, we're going to use the command commit. Here in GitHub desktop, it knows there have been 27 changed files that it needs to do something about. I've temporarily unticked those, but they need all to be ticked if you're going to do something to them. So I've ticked them. I'm now going to commit them. Just before that, I'm just going to write a summary of what I've changed, but this is the first one. I'm just going to say it's the initial commit. So now, when I commit to main, it's going to make sure that it's got a save point knowing that these files are good in the GitHub desktop repository. There we go. So now there are no changes between the Unity version and the GitHub desktop version. But we need to do another step. We need to push it to the cloud, and that is up here on the push origin button, or it's giving me an option to do it down here as well. Let's try push origin here. So pushed it up to the cloud. All of our repositories and the Unity project itself are now consistent. The commit got it to the GitHub desktop repository. The push gets it over from the repository to the cloud. So it's away and now safe in the main version in the cloud. As it happens, my project is looking rather empty at the moment. I haven't even put a Green Sphere in there. So let's just speed through the things that I usually do when starting up a project. Set the scene, attach the Altspace uploader, etc. Well, now I've got my basic Green Sphere. Let's take a look about what GitHub thinks of this. And GitHub knows there are 19 changed files since it last did a commit. Symbols next to each file, these ones are new. That's the Green Sphere material. These ones were deleted. I deleted the sample scene. And a few files were just modified. Put in my summary. This one, I actually got my green sphere and commit it. And then push it from the GitHub local desktop repository up to the cloud. Let me create another 3D object here. I'll just do a capsule. Move it out there so we can see it. Let's flip over to GitHub and commit that change. I've done a capsule. I've committed that. If I look in the history now, I can see that I did my initial commits, a green sphere, and then I added a capsule. I'm not going to push the capsule up to the cloud. This is a different way of working for different people. You can either always push after you've done a commit, or you can do several commits during your work session and then only at the end of a work session say, yes, I'm happy with where I am, let's push it up to the cloud at that point. Back in Unity, I'm staring at my screen and thinking, this is a pretty terrible capsule. I don't want it. Let's get rid of it. Now I could select it and delete it, or because I committed at an earlier state than the capsule, I can revert to that previous state. In GitHub Desktop, if I do a right click on that capsule commit, there's an option to revert the changes in the commit. So in effect say, no, I don't really want the things that were done from the last commit to this one. So let's revert the changes. There it's entered a new message, new bit of history saying, there was capsule and then there was reverting the capsule. Flipping back once more to Unity, I get a message saying, the change has been modified externally. What it's saying there is that the revert has happened, but not inside Unity yet. It's only been reverted in GitHub. But let's make Unity consistent and we'll reload after that revert. And now the capsule has gone. What we did was identify a commit point in the local GitHub desktop and revert from that point back into the Unity project itself. So it's a movement down from the GitHub desktop local repository back to Unity to get Unity into the state you want it to be in. Reverting the latest item is very much like just doing an undo. So you may think, well, what was the point? But revert is a bit more cunning than a simple undo. Let me add a few more items and commit each one as I go. We'll throw in a cylinder. Remember the order in which I do these. Might change. Oh, hold on. Why didn't that happen? Oh, I needed to save that. Forget these things sometimes. I commit the cylinder. Cylinder. Let's add another 3D object, and I'll put in a tree. Gosh, that's a bit big. Save it. Lots more to a tree apparently. Tree, commit the tree. There's a tree in the history. What else can we add? We can add our favourite cube. Let's bring the cube to the front there. I will save. Changes, simple one for a cube. History. So I've got my adding of a cylinder, a tree and a cube all in there, in that order. So let's suppose that really I dislike that oversized tree. Remember I did cylinder, tree, cube. I can go to GitHub. That's history. And I can revert the tree, which is not the most recent thing that I did. Revert the commit. And there it says it's reverted the tree. And I've had to change quite a few files to make that happen. If I go back again to Unity, it says, oh, can I reload? Reload there. And there I am. I managed to individually revert an item, which is very helpful for when you are making many changes and then you want to go back, just say that little portion didn't work. Now let's think about when it all goes horribly wrong. Maybe you just really hate everything you've done in your scene. It's more likely to happen when you're doing programming, by the way, rather than Unity World, but it can happen. Maybe your GitHub desktop is saying it's corrupted. It's time that you really want to step way back and throw everything away that happened after that particular time. In that case, you can use a command called reset. Unfortunately, reset is not available in GitHub Desktop, but it is available the other way that you can use Git on the command line. We leapt straight to using GitHub, but we could have installed the Git command line as well. Here I've just looked up install Git, and here we can just take the latest version of Git for Windows, click here to download. It then asks an awful lot of questions after you try and install, and they're very unclear what they all mean. I just took all of the defaults and it seemed to work fine. So I'm going to skip that bit and go straight to what happens when you're about to use it. Right, I'm not going to view the release notes or launch Git Bash. Let's just finish there. Close my browser. Going to go into command line, cmd, get the command prompt. Now, this here free user for Mark J is my current default location. I'm going to change that to the directory of my project. So cd for change directory, space. Then up here, I've navigated in File Manager to the location of my project. That's at the Git level. I can see a .git and the green sphere Unity project underneath it. So that's where I want to be. I'm going to copy that, place it in here, Control V. Right, now my default location is the right place. I'm trying to go and use that git command that I have installed now. If I say git, and I'm going to use that reset command. Right, where am I resetting it to? If I open up GitHub Desktop and I want to go all the way back to that green sphere when I just started off the project, do a right click there with a copy SHA, and that is a commit point that and it's a code for it, so it's not very readable at all. So let's do the copy here. Copy the SHA, go back to the command prompt, paste it. Okay, and let's try running that command now. Git reset and then the commit point code. Okay. Unstage changes after the reset. Right, let's just take a quick look at where we are in GitHub Reset. Now that's interesting. It's thrown away all the history after green sphere, which is good. That's where we wanted to be. In Unity, however, nothing has actually changed in Unity, and that would allow us to modify things that we wanted to and then resave them into GitHub Desktop. The alternative is to say, no, really I meant it, modify my Unity project as well. And that is, if we go back to the command prompt, very similar command, git reset, then the commit code, and then --hard, which is do everything, commit it in a hard way. I'm not going to change my mind about this. Press the button. Okay, go back now, and haha, in Unity it realizes it needs to reload. It reloads and it's back to that green sphere position. Take another look in GitHub Desktop. There are no changes to do. It's back as if the whole session hasn't really happened. That was a bit of a haul through basic GitHub commands. Your general work session will look like going and working in Unity on your project, and at regular intervals you should say, that's quite good, I'll do a commit into my local GitHub, that will keep me a save point, work a bit more, do another commit, work a bit more, do another commit. If anything goes wrong, revert a commit. If later on you find that one of the chunks of work you did aren't what you wanted, again you could revert that particular commit and get back to a good state. If it all goes horribly wrong, go to the command line and do a git reset hard to get your whole project back to a safe state. At the end of your work session, do a push to get it back into the GitHub cloud.